Welcome everyone back for what seems quite a long time since we've had a proper event anyway. Delighted to see people here in Rotterdam with us, and we've got a fantastic event lined up for you this week. I already had to tell you about turning off your mobile phones, and mine's beeping there. I'd just say, I'm going to be very brief here. I think we've got a fantastic programme. We've got over 100 speakers with us this week, and thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today. We're covering, many subjects. I'll just check that I can cover them all here. We've everything from, digital transformation, automation and integration. We've got clean technologies. We've got equipment maintenance, port operations. So there's a lot for everyone to have this week. I suggest if everyone goes to the registration desk, you'll be able to download the digital event guide, which has the full program of all the events straight to your phone, so you can plan your week while you're here. A couple of things to bring up. Hot on our mind this time, and moving forward, as you know, is sustainability for TOC, and that's both in running the events and also in the industry we work in. So have a look around. You'll see some initiatives that we're putting together. And in fact, at the back of the hall, near our sales stand, you'll see we have a sustainability wall that outlines our journey of where we want to go with sustainability. Have a look at it, talk to any of the TOC team. It's something that's really important to us to both reflect in our content, but also in how we run events. So a lot of new initiatives coming out on that, and it'd be great if everyone could sort of have a look at how we're doing, where we're going with it. A new feature for this year, which I'd like to make everyone aware of, another, I suppose, part of the sustainability element is safety of people. It's really important to us to look at how ports, terminals operate and looking at the safety of people. We've set up, together with the TT Club and the International Cargo Handling Coordination Association, which is basically ICHCA to you and me, we've set up a safety village. Please take some time this week to have a little walk by. You're going to see some people talking about new initiatives that are happening in the industry, but it's also an opportunity to talk with the people on the stand. We're going to try and collate some of the ideas and worries that you may have about safety and safety on terminals, and how we can push that subject up the agenda, how we can follow this up in future events and look at the safety and look at solutions that can happen. It's something I've been very happy to be part of for the last year and bring together. So please take a look at that one. You can see it's been a while since I've done this. I don't want to forget anything. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I would just like to say thank you to all of our exhibitors. If you have a look around, I think the exhibition looks fantastic, and all of you who come from our exhibitors, thank you very much. You've put a real effort into the event. It looks fantastic. I'm really proud to see this back to where it should be. We've had some tough times over the last few years, but it feels like TOC's back, and I'm really, really grateful for everyone who's followed us and supported us through this journey. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors you'll see around, particularly the Port of Rotterdam, who are our host sponsors. They've really helped us bring the event back to Rotterdam, and so thank you very much to those guys. Look, for last minute, I think it's really just the housekeeping. As I said, mobile phones, we all know, if you could switch to silent, so have some courtesy for the speakers. We don't expect any fire alarms or any alerts, so if you hear any tannoy announcements or alarms, please take them seriously. Look after your own safety and make your way slowly and calmly through the marked exits all around the hall. They're clearly marked, so look out for everyone's safety on that one. We have a first aid station is on the main concourse. If you come out of the hall, turn right and down the concourse past the Rivers catering. First aids will look after you. If you have any major emergencies, please look out for one of the TOC team. We can assist immediately. And I think that's it really. On catering, there's plenty of catering outlets both in the hall and outside. Please take time to come and see us at TOC. We'd love to talk to you about where we're going with this in the future. So welcome everyone back. I think really now I'd like to introduce our first moderator back at Tech Talk. I don't think I really need to introduce you, Paul. If anyone doesn't know Paul Avery, I'll be quite surprised. Paul is the leading editorial director for World Cargo News, who are our key main media partner, and without World Cargo News, TOC wouldn't be where it is today, so we're always grateful. Paul, I think your journalism has been the cornerstone of that, so I'd like to welcome you on stage, and you can introduce the speakers, and we can kick off Tech Talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean, for those very kind words. It is a bit strange to be back, I have to say. It feels like very familiar, but at the same time, very different. And it's good to be back. It's great to see so many people who we've had Zoom calls with and conferences over the last couple of years and see you in person again. It's good to see that the industry has we've worked our way through peak beard, I think. Beards are not so common as they did seem to be over the Zoom calls, including myself included. But I think we can't let this moment pass to start a new talk without reflecting back for a moment on what happened over the last 2 years. I certainly don't want to cover the whole history of the pandemic, but the industry, we're seeing a crazy, crazy time. Imagine if at TOC Europe in 2019, when someone at the other end of the hall in the Container Supply Chain Conference gave a forecast and said, well, what's coming in the next 2 years is a pandemic that will see a large part of the world locked down and working at home for part of the year. Demand for container shipping will fall 20% in the first half of 2020, and then rise again by high single digits in the second half of the year. In 2021, we'll see demand for container shipping reach such a peak that people are paying upwards of $20,000 US to ship a container from Asia to Rotterdam, and $30,000 or more from Asia to the US. But even at that level, with the industry making record amounts of money, there won't be enough supply. There'll still be a container supply chain shortfall, and the most common word that the popular media use when talking about the supply chain is crisis. I think we have to reflect hard on what we've seen, and that the industry has struggled probably being the nicest term, to deliver over the last year. So we start this conference looking at technology and looking at ways to try and do better. And I don't think anyone can say that we can find a digital tool or a new crane or a new process that would enable the industry to suddenly have flex capacity for 20% more capacity across the industry. It's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. But what's clearly come out of the whole crisis theme, and the reason why people think this industry is in crisis, is not so much because they can't understand that there's a demand and supply imbalance, but it's the problem of not being able to see that imbalance, not being able to know the consequences of not being able to get container shipping service, or what happens when you book a container, when will it arrive, when will it be through a terminal. We don't have those words, visibility, people can't see into the supply chain in the way that they need. And I think what that's really done is thrown the spotlight on the digitalization journey that the industry began before the pandemic. It's brought it forward, it's made it more urgent. Clearly we need to get more connected and find ways of leveraging the data that's there across the whole supply chain so that people can act on it and plan in more predictable ways. So that's really where we start Tech Talk again, is kind of where we left off before the pandemic, is the digital journey. And our first panel is, the first session of today is digital transformation and innovation. Now, being the pandemic, we have had a problem with our first speaker, who's a COVID issue and has been unable to travel today. So I know this sounds probably not what you want to hear, but we're going to start with a Zoom presentation where I hope Carly Rua, who's Head of Innovation at the Port of Barcelona, is standing by now to give his presentation on the screen in front of you via Zoom.
I can start? Okay. First of all, I would like to apologize because I'm not in Rotterdam. The problem is that on Sunday I get positive on COVID, so I had to remain here at home. But luckily, I think it's the live version, so I will be ready as soon as possible. Okay, what I want to talk about is about the impact of the disruption. The digitalization has helped us a lot during the disruption processes, no? But my idea, or what I want to present, is that also the disruption has affected the process of digitalization itself. What I want to try to show you a little bit is that we have defined our digitalization process before the disruption appeared. So probably there are some things in this digitalization process that we have to change a little bit in order to adapt to the new world, to the new uncertainly world. No? So first of all, I would like to say that more or less one month ago, I was in Rotterdam, that time in person, in another conference, not as good as this one, of course, but it was another conference. And this is the last slide I show in that conference. The idea of that there are 7 digital challenges we have to surpass in order to become really or true digital companies. No? And in our sector, the first ones are well known for everybody. The problem with the data sharing in the maritime sector, the standardization of the definitions in maritime, the human factor, the lack of skills of digital skills for our people, the collaboration or the lack of collaboration in the supply chain, and the need of showing the supply chain as a whole. But there are 3 additional challenges that are not so mentioned usually. The first one is that, of course, in this sector we have big assets and long-term investments. So the changes, to digitalize, to innovate in that way. When you have 500 million euros of terminal built, or a 100 million vessel just built, you don't want to change it a lot, or you want to depreciate it in the next 20 or 30 years. So it's very difficult to innovate when you have these big assets involved in the process. The next element is that high-tech companies or startups, in fact, or big startups, don't like to swim. I mean, there are not many startups related to the maritime sector, or at least not the big ones. In the logistics sector, only 2 subsectors has a little bit more of pressure from the side of the startups. That's the last mile delivery and also the e-forwarding. But the rest of the logistics, or the rest of the maritime sector, lacks of unicorns. And the last element is that with the pandemics and with the disruptions, we have moved from a just-in-time environment to a just-in-case environment. That means that now the exception is the rule, and the stable environment in which we started to develop digitalization now has broken, and we are just working with exceptions and with just in case of things can happen and these kind of things. And this is what I will point just in my explanation, because everything started with the pandemics, with the coronavirus that I've got just now. But the thing is that disruption has been a common thing in the last 2.5 years. Here you have some examples. The Ever Given crossed in the Suez Canal, the Brexit and the impact it has in the transport alongside Europe, the problems and the waiting times and the congestion in the ports, first in the west coast of America, but now in Asia. And of course, probably the worst is the war between in Ukraine, that has also caused some problems in supply, in food supply and so on. So the world is becoming more uncertain, more disruptive, more changing, but also our sector is affected by some, maybe not disruption, but maybe trends that are affecting a lot the evolution of maritime. The first one is this one, the mega vessels. This is affecting a lot of port operations because, for example, 5-6 years ago, when people talk how many times a vessel remains at the port of Barcelona, you say, oh, if the vessel arrives today, it's unloaded tomorrow, and you can deliver the cargo in 2 days. No, so it's easy to make a prediction on that way. But now this vessel arrives to the port of Barcelona, it will make sometimes probably 16,000 movements in one single call. So the vessel remains 3 days, maybe 4 days at port. No, so predictions about when the cargo will be delivered are more difficult. Just in the case you know that the arrival and so on. No? Also, the prices of the bookings that has boosted, as you know, and this is one of the main disruptions in the logistics sector that now. Another vessel arriving to the port of Barcelona, and no, there is no vessel. Should be a blank sail. It was announced a vessel arriving to the port of Barcelona, but he misses the call and he will go directly to the port of Algeciras. That's a problem because the cargo will go to Algeciras instead of Barcelona, and we have to wait or to manage this problem in another way. No? And also the integration of shipping lines, also the horizontal integration and the vertical integration of the shipping lines. The sector is changing. This is the reality. And also, what we want to do, would like to explain a little bit here is that this is also affecting digitalization. No? And we will put you, basically, there are many examples of this change of paradigm, but I will put just 2 of them. One related to the client-driven information, what the client needs to be to know, and what we are giving as information to him, that it's not exactly the same. And the second one is another example, like the proliferation of single windows in our sector. No? The first one, I will put an example, the just-in-time port call. This is from DCSA, the standards for just-in-call port operations. When we are working about just-in-time port call, we are trying to get all the information related to the carriers, the terminal operating system, the nautical services like tags, mooring services, pilots, and so on, the port community system, everything. So with that, what we are trying to do is a synchronized operation that helps us to get the operational excellence in our port. So we are trying to use algorithms like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, in order to be more accurate in the definition of the times where the vessel will arrive, where the pilot has to be on board, where everything. Okay, so this is fantastic. This will help you a lot in becoming operational excellence in our ports. No? And at the end, you will have all the moments or key dates, ETA, ATA, and so on, well defined, and we will have a lot of accuracy in deploying all this information in our port. So that's fantastic from our port point of view. But my question is this information relevant for our client? Is this information relevant for the people who pays all our salaries? I mean, the shipper, the cargo owner? Because we can get a lot of accuracy using machine learning, using sophisticated algorithms in getting a better estimated time of arrival. But if at the end, what the client sees, what the carrier, the shipper sees is something like that, a lack of reliability in the previsions or in the estimated time of arrival that goes from 85% to 35% at this moment, or when the delays are higher than ever in the arrival of the vessels, then what's the key on getting more accuracy in a date that at the end you know that it's not reliable? So Additionally, you have some additional problems, no? Because it's what I've said. If you have the information about the estimated time of arrival and you get a lot of accuracy on that, and you get, no, the vessel will arrive tomorrow at 12 o'clock in the midday, that's fantastic. But then for the client, this is not the right information. The right information is when my container will be ready. And in the past, in the Port of Barcelona, we used to add 2 days. If the vessel arrived today, tomorrow if unloaded, and the day after tomorrow, if ready, your container to be delivered. Now that's impossible because this big vessel will make 16,000, 15,000 movements in one call. It will not stay here 1 day. It will stay here maybe 3 days. So if the vessel arrived today, and the container, my container, is the first one to be unloaded, then tomorrow will be ready. If it's the last one, I mean in 3 days of call, that means that in 4 days, I will not be able to get the container. So for the client, more than an accuracy on the estimated time of arrival, to try to get 1 hour or half an hour better prediction. What I want to know if my container will be delivered the first one or the last one of the vessel, because that means days of difference in the process. Okay. That's supposing that the vessel arrived, because if there is a blank sail and you have a lot of accuracy in the estimated time of arrival, but at the end the vessel doesn't arrive, then the problem is still worse. No, okay. Another, this is important. I think that yes, because if not, the things that you can see here will not happen. No, and what we can see now in the industry is that some movements of the big clients, the big retailers, that are not happy with this situation, and they are trying to get the control on their own maritime logistic. And you see some big retailers like Walmart, like Amazon, like Alibaba, like IKEA, like Lidl, that are developing chartering vessels in order to trying to avoid this lack of information or this lack of reliability in our sector. And some of them, like Alibaba and Lidl, are creating their own shipping lines, or they're buying shipping lines in order to surpass this big problem that they have. So this is quite important for the clients, and we are not giving the information they need with our digitalization processes. The second example I will to put that the paradigm has changed with the disruptions and we are not moving in the right direction sometimes is the question of the single window. Single window. This is a single window. Single window is a very good idea when you want to concentrate the information in one single point in order to know where the information is. And it has been very valid in the past in a stable environment. So port community systems, in fact, are single windows for a port, no? But also we have created single windows at national, at the European level, no? We're talking about the maritime single window, the logistics single window, the national single window, etc. So the problem is that with so much single windows, the single window seems more something like this that the previous version, no? But anyway, this is not the topic, one or multiple single windows. The question is that I believe that single windows works more or less well in a stable environment with no disruptions, with certainly process. Single windows are based in transactional process, like our port community system. That means I make I send a message, I get an answer, I send another message, I get another answer, and so on. Is the basis of the EDI processes we developed in the last years of the 80 decade or the first of 90s. No? But nowadays, I think that things have changed. And when the information is not so sure, is not so clear, and you have to move from different uncertainties and so on, probably is not the best solution, no? And you have to see how to enlighten the house, not just to construct windows. So probably the solution is no window at all, no? And search for other idea. What I'm trying to say is that single windows are like the Encyclopedia Britannica. They want to get all the knowledge related to one topic. And that's good if the knowledge doesn't change frequently. If the knowledge changes frequently, probably a better solution is Google. No? Is the way you get the knowledge today. You do not have a place where all the information is concentrated. You have a place where he knows where is the right information. So it's a pointer, not a box where to put the information. So the idea of the traditional single windows in the way where you are concentrating all the information related to one topic, probably it's outdated, and you have to move to a place where you know when the information is, not to have the information. Why? Because this information changes quicker now than in the past. So in the past, it were possible to have this hub for information. Now, what you need to know is where is the origin of the information and get it from that. No? So it's a different paradigm, a completely different paradigm. And I will finish with some comments. No, what we see in digitalization and the realities. No, and first for port that we are public administrations. We like bureaucracy and procedures, but bureaucracy and procedures work well in a stable environment. When you have many exceptions, then the procedures doesn't work, and clients need flexibility and agile answers, not and more now that in the past. No. Another question that it has to change, another change of paradigm, is that engineers, and of course I'm an engineer and there are many engineers in ports, love deterministic problem models. I like to say, no, I know that the vessel will arrive tomorrow at 12 o'clock, but the vessel will not arrive tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It will arrive tomorrow at 12:05 or at 12:10 or the day after tomorrow or 2 days with 2 days of delay, but not exactly at 12 tomorrow. So the idea is that you have not to give this information as a deterministic information, because for a client to say that the vessel will arrive tomorrow at 12 o'clock give no information at all. For the carrier, it will be for the shipper, it will be more important to have this kind of information. The probability of getting 3 days of delay in the arrival of the vessel, not when the vessel will arrive. What's the probability of a delay of more than 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, for example? No? So, if the world is not deterministic, if the world is probabilistic, why we are not giving this approach in our digitalization processes? Why we are not giving what's the probability of more than 3 days of delay in the arrival of the vessel? Because for the shipper, if this probability is less than 5%, maybe he does nothing. But if the probability of a delay of more than 3 days is 20%, then they will act and get the cargo from another place or get some initiative in order to refill his stocks. The last point is that we feel ourselves very comfortable with past data and past events, but this is past data and past events, so this is history, and what we need to do is to be comfortable with the future events, and that means more predictability, more information about the future, and more probabilistic approach again. No. So coming back, and this is the last one, about the first question or the title of my presentations. Are disruptions disrupting digitalization, or is digitalization disrupting disruptions? The idea is both. I mean, the digitalization is helping us to surpass all these disruptions that are taking place in the logistics sector and in the maritime sector. But at the same time, disruptions are changing the paradigm in which we are digitalizing our processes. So we have to think on the new needs of the sector and include them in this digitalization process. Because if not, we will be digitalization past models, not the right current and actual models. And that's all. Thank you.
Next presentation is real live and in person, and we have two speakers. Jesus Medina, who's the Chief of Technological Development at the Algeciras Bay Port Authority, and Oscar Pernier, who's the founder and technical lead at Nextport AI. And they'll be talking about digital twin and artificial intelligence for supply chain, prescriptive intelligence at ports. Gentlemen, if you'd like to come up.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah? Perfect. Today we are going to explain a platform we are developing together, Algeciras Port Authority and Nextport, and we are going to start explaining why this platform makes sense. We are going to start talking, we are going to start talking about the industry context and how Algeciras is adapting to this context, evolving this role, and why the Algeciras Port digital strategy is helping Algeciras Port to evolve to this role. And after that, we are going to give a short introduction about the Nextport company. And finally, I'm going to put some example of the platform we are developing, right? This is the main challenge we have in our industry right now. We are a lot of stakeholders working together to make possible the cargo flow, the cargo transport in our industry. We are talking about port authority, terminals, shippers, freight forwarders, and so on. And this is a very simple or easy to say problem and a very difficult to coordinate to solve. And the reality is that shippers see a wide gap between the service they get and the service they would like to have, right? Taking into account the port point of view, the ports in many cases are seen like that, like black holes, hubs in which you don't know exactly what is happening. And according to the executive leaders in our sector, there are points of poor coordination, too little transparency, and inefficiency. And these executives are looking for real-time information and predictions, what means visibility and predictability. Taking into account this, all not are bad news. In fact, the Algeciras Port is, according to the last research of the World Bank Group, Algeciras Port is the most efficient port in Europe, and one of the key is this, is the evolving role of the Algeciras Port Authority. Algeciras Port is evolving his role from a landlord and regulator and operator to a port ecosystem orchestrator, and for make it possible, the digital transformation is playing a special role. And what are we doing in digital transformation? Well, we are doing two main things. First one, we are developing a digital platform for ecosystem orchestration. That means to develop a digital platform with real-time visibility, you can hear me? Yeah? Okay. We are developing a platform with real-time visibility, but also improve predictability in order to know not just what is happening in real time, but in order to know what is going to happen in 6, 12, 24 hours in advance. We are in production. We have in production right now these tools, this platform. We are talking about a platform, different tools working together and exchanging information in real time. And what we are thinking now is about develop this prescriptive capability library that is the most innovative project we are developing right now. And at the end, we are thinking about have a holistic platform covering all the chain, all the status in the cargo flow. This is about the first point, develop a digital platform for ecosystem orchestration. And after that, or in the second place, we are understanding innovation and as a key business process. And one of the pillars of this idea is to look for continually innovative solutions, innovative companies, and this was very helpful, for example, for winning the Expo Award in 2020. And in this context, developing the digital platform for ecosystem orchestration and looking for new solutions, innovative solutions, we are developing with Nextport company our solution based on artificial intelligence and supported by a digital twin capability in order to have this prescriptive capacity, this prescriptive solution. That's all. Now Oscar is going to explain and go deeper in the solution. Oscar.
Thank you, Jesus. Well, first of all, it's great to be back in the TOC, now with a different shirt, right? And let me go into, well, I'm going to briefly explain what Nextport is. We are a moffatt and nickel company, and we are developing AI solutions for the industry. That means ports and terminals. So Nextport is a new brand, a moffatt and nickel brand. We are focusing on technology and innovation. And we are still a very, very small entity, so we are 12 people based in Spain. But our focus, as I mentioned, is the introduction and the acceleration of AI solution for ports. We are developing a smart port product, okay, and I'm going to present a little bit on what are the guidelines for that product, which is just starting. We just started last January. The starting point, of course, is the problem space. So with the port authorities, I think Carles and also Jesus mentioned creating visibility on their key vessel processes and cargo flow processes and the associated decision making. At the water side, we are focusing on the requested time of arrival, not that much on the ETA predictability, services coordination, meaning pilot, mooring, tugboats, all this, in order to minimize idle times and in order to maximize utilization. For the land side, it's so far on traffic congestion, so the connection of the vessel in and out, but also the connectivity of those with feeder vessels, but also rail and truck traffic. Focusing on those problems, the vision we have is on articulating this smart port vision that is going from processes to information flows, from information flows to data, and from data to intelligence. It's not a trivial step, but what we are trying to catalyze also is the transition from physical infrastructure to digital infrastructure, and what that means for the ports. Our solution starts with a very advanced port data platform. That means that we have a very advanced capability to ingest data, to process data, to store data, to make that data useful for artificial intelligence and machine learning. And finally, we connect what we believe is the differentiator, which is the simulator. So the port simulator is helping us on looking ahead, but it's also helping us on one of the main challenges that artificial intelligence has, which is training the algorithms and doing that precisely and doing that fast. Iterating a bit on that, the smart port solution is trying to connect different building blocks to support, again, decision-making at ports. The first one is the integration of data. I think Carles mentioned, Jesus mentioned as well, the data is there, but the data is in silos and very fragmented across too many applications. So we are trying to generate a single source of truth. We are trying to replicate that in a real-time mirror, which is our digital twin, which is a very lightweight application. And once that we have that, the data is prepared and ready to generate the ability not only to visualize the data, but also to create prediction models that can help decisions. And finally, from those, as I said, the port simulator, the engine that mimic the plans and the changes, very important, I think Carles mentioned, but also Jesus as well, and to learn and improve with AI. So in short, our solution intends to analyze, plan, optimize, and we are fusioning or integrating digital twin and AI. Then, of course, the starting point is the people. So we are a very small entity, 12 people so far, but 8 of us, we are coming from having 10 or even 20, in my case, years of experience in port and terminal systems and the integration. So TOC, PCS, this is the part that we know very well, the inside-out approach on those, but also understanding the complexity, the integration, and how to make sense of the data. Again, this is not a trivial step. And the new capabilities in the middle are on data science. So those, our colleagues from data science, they are newbies, people with 22, 25 years old, but they are the ones that will make sense of the data. They are the ones that will learn on how to create useful predictions. If the predictions are not useful, we will have the same problem we have today. And then finally, some kind of, bear in mind that we are still in prototyping phase, but we were showing what we are doing with Algeciras, but also with other ports, okay, in terms of early adoption. In order to validate how to make sense of the data, we have a very light, again, very light real-time mirror, a digital twin. We consider this a sandbox. What that means, this is our laboratory to see that indeed the data is available, we can make the data useful, we can represent, it can be useful for decision making. Okay? But also, in this case, it's for the vessel in and out. Okay? As Jesus mentioned, Algeciras is a big transshipment hub. But we are also trying to focus on the land side. For data analytics, the power of data science providing real-time metrics, real-time KPIs to be able to support decision-making, to integrate that in the digital twin as well. But also the ability to classify those data points across different dashboards, different balance scorecard that enable an analysis across the timeline, and more important, being able to identify what is the root cause or the way that we can improve the processes. For meaningful AI, it's fundamental to combine different data sources. And again, this is not trivial. So we are using and leveraging our expertise on the ecosystem, not only at the TOS and the PCS, but also with AIS data and with RFID data and other data available. So whatever is available, we take it. And with that, we have in one of our early adopters, we try to generate synchromodality paradigms. What that means? It means the connection of waterside processes with landside processes. So vessel-related transaction and track-related transaction in this case, connecting the different data sources, but more important, the different decision domains. Predicting into the future and generating prescriptive analysis and recommendations, in this case for the landside, ahead of time, and decisions like vessel priorities, associated SLAs, but also landside congestion, chassis management in US, very important, and in general, represent the data and the prediction in a simple way and in a meaningful way, meaning that the user can have empathy with that prediction. And more important for us, we are following a very inclusive approach with AI. We are trying to integrate back the AI prediction into the existing ecosystem, not creating additional platforms. And then just to conclude, summary of the value proposition, Jesus explained very clearly what the port of Algeciras is doing. I think that there are many ports, Algeciras, Barcelona, many others that are really thinking outside the box to see how they can better support decision making. But in our case, it's about continuous evolution of this industry and synchromodality and dynamic planning paradigms. This is part of the focus we are trying to generate, connecting the dots between the different stakeholders, because we believe the biggest optimization opportunities are in the intersection between the port and the carrier, between the carrier and the terminal, and between everyone else in the supply chain. Digital asset management and the connection of that with decision making and the potential improvement not only on efficiency but also on sustainability and so on. Our focus on sustainability indeed is really in the core. So many of the predictions we are trying to do is to connect sustainability parameters with operational parameters, because that's the missing link. We know how much we are consuming in terms of energy or how much the emissions are, but we don't know how to manage operation to improve that. And finally, of course, I think this is already for a while there, collaboration and transparency.
Thank you, Oscar. Some great things there for us to discuss later. And that really leads us nicely into the next presentation, which is, I hope, a bit more of a look about a source of data and how to get it in a case study, and one port in particular has done it. So I'd like to introduce Miguel Soler-Jaffer, who is the CEO of Pacifico Momentum, and he's going to be talking about how the Port of Miami has a case study from the Port of Miami and their digital transformation. Miguel, the floor is yours.
Buenos dias. Good morning to everybody. Really happy to be back here, TOC, as normal, as usual, and see everybody here around. So it's really nice to be back again. And the first thing I have to introduce, and I would like to mention, Port of Miami is sitting here with us. Unfortunately, Mr. Ed Bello could not come because of reasons beyond his control, but we have somebody here from Miami because we want to jointly show that we have made an approach to really be able to show how digitalization can work out. The first speech were very interesting, a global view over ports digitalization. We have made it a little bit smaller. We have concentrated on one of the stakeholders of the terminals that are a terminal. So they're really the interface between water, land, water, everything that is involved in there. And we have made also the approach to really see, first, digitalize everything, so analog data, put it to digital, and then, like also Oscar said very good, is to make data that really makes some sense to the people. Because digitally we can do anything. Everybody is able to do anything. We all are collecting data, yes, but to present them in a way that somebody in just 20 seconds can see, think, and take a decision without having to be a mastermind or without having to be really on a Saturday 3 o'clock in the morning looking on what he has to do to really take a decision. Yeah, that was our aim. So we tried to make it as client and as human friendly as possible to really be able to take quick decisions. Let me see. I don't have to explain anything. Big data, digitalization, it's all about an interference or an interaction between everything. Everybody's talking about, big data, IoT, evaluation of data. Yeah, we have been fighting with all this. We have tried to accelerate, to have virtual artificial intelligence built in to really create some system and some infrastructure that makes sense to the clients and is really helpful to then do real management. Because at the end of the day, like we also have heard before, it's not a matter of having good data. It's really a matter that there is a value behind the data for the final clients. That is the terminal, that is the shipping line, that is all the agents that are involved. What are the advantages of having digitalization? Real-time information, past information, not really. The importance is really to have information when you need it and that you have some kind of prediction. And prediction for a big port is important, but prediction for a terminal on human resources needed to maintain a crane or to do the operations to unload a vessel. There's a lot of other things. For example, also that we are now doing the studies in other terminals to tell the city that there will be a big vessel coming, and there will be traffic jams in the city because all the trucks will come in and out of the terminal. So you have to go further, not only look at the terminal or at the port. You can talk with the traffic and with the police. Yeah, there will be a lot of trucks coming in. Call the police services because there will be a vessel with 2,000 passengers stepping out of the vessel and going into Miami or going into Sevilla or Algeciras or wherever. And the digitalization process and who you have to include is a lot wider. Not only the port, not only a terminal. It's all the industry around a terminal or a port that also must come in more and more into this whole process. Like I said, we did it the first big approach on digitalization and digital transformation in Miami. We have other terminals and other ports that we have already done digitalization, but Miami today, and thank you to Miami being here, it's a public terminal, so that's why we are also able to talk openly and to show openly data, because other terminals are a little bit keen that we show around. So thank you, Miami, for letting us show. Yeah, digitalization in a terminal. Obviously, you want to have a digital platform that helps you to have data. Everybody thinks always digitalization, yeah, as an OEM for machinery, that you are digitalizing your machines. Yes, at the beginning it was like that, but then at the end we found out that you can integrate a lot of other things in digitalization, not only your machines, but also all the services around that machines and that terminal. And then at the end we also discovered, we were led to the point that we have in some point also to include every software, every machine, every process that is going on in a port or in a terminal. So not focus on machines or not focus on departments, focus on what do we have to do, let's digitalize that. So not because a machine is there, we need 500 data points of that machine. Nobody will read 500 data points of machine. Just take a decision, what is the next step that is really adding value for the management of a terminal. Let's focus on that, on how we bring it in and integrate it into the platform. So we have been then able to look at operational and at maintenance, information and reporting, maintenance performance, safety in operations and how to handle the cargo, and also on improving the sustainability and the green focus that all the terminals should have. At the end, like I said, we try to include everything, not here on the slide, but human resources, financials, everything has been improving. So at the end, you create a system that is not only interested for a few people, but everybody in a port or in a terminal wants to have the data and gets the data. It's operations, technical people, financial people, human resources, safety, the gate, whoever. This is just a few examples on how we present the platform and how it works out. So you have a lot of KPIs, a lot of information. But like I said, yes, we had to do a platform to show a little bit what the platform is doing. But another point that we decided is that we do not want to have another software, again, somebody sitting in front of a screen and having to look again at what's going on in the terminal. The whole information, the whole sense of digitalization should be or must be that the information, you get it when it happens or when you decide that you want to get information. Not that you have to go look or download anything. So as we are digital, we can also make automation. And automation means that at certain times, certain points, certain triggers that you predefine, you get the information automatically. So you don't have to have another person sitting again behind the screen, and we are tired to have expensive people sitting behind screens. Makes no sense. So we thought this must be a proactive system, a system where the terminal dedicates to the core business, and whenever there's an important information, they get it. like said and explained, the system only makes really sense. And in Miami, we are right now in the way to build in with the digital transformation, to build in all the departments of the terminal and of the port, that operations, maintenance, financial management, the management by itself, human resources, vessel booking, human resources booking for the dockers, and also the green transformation. Everybody is fully involved, fully in the system. Everybody gets and gives the information needed. So there's a whole picture of a terminal and nobody is left out. So if the CEO is interested in this software or in this system, but the maintenance manager is not interested, or the opposite way, then the whole system is useless. Only if this is a terminal solution and not a machine solution, and a solution that really looks inside the terminal, outside the terminal, and is able to get other stakeholders into the system, then it's worth. And that's what Miami has helped us very much to also understand. And basically from our development side and from Miami side, we have been having nice fights and nice nights to understand each other and to really make a system that is client-proof, to say it some way. Yeah, the results of digitalization in Miami, and now I want to say it very clearly, it does not mean that because of our system, Miami has improved that much. But Miami took 2018, 2019, the decision to digitalize their management. And with that, we also started with our system, with the Spire system. And if you see from the moment it took the decision, the data awareness, the data analysis awareness, and the usage of that analysis and the awareness of data led to have a big impact on the ranking of the terminal of Miami worldwide, and for the US or for North America. Basically, they are the second most efficient port in North America. And like I said, and that is just because they started to be aware of how to use and how they can use, and how we did then together this training on ourselves on how we can really get more aware on how to improve all the process and all the evaluation of data during the management of a terminal. Also, before, we have heard very clearly that past data is not the good thing or not the thing to follow. So if you really have an amount of data, you have artificial intelligence, programmed or virtual intelligence, or you evaluate things differently, you can really have, and you have to go to predictive and analytic maintenance and probability maintenance. So instead of making only nice windows on when the vessels are there, why don't you make windows when maintenance people or when cleaning people or when whatever people can go into the terminal? So everybody, each department, each stakeholder gets the information the way he needs to have it. Cleaning people or maintenance people don't mind when the vessels are there. They want to see when there's no vessel and they can go and do maintenance, or they can go and do checks of whatever. And then our experience, not with and only with Miami, but in the past years, we have made already some digitalization projects. We have installed in several terminals our software, and we have been growing and helping and participating in some projects. And then we have discovered a few things. The good things that we were aware of and everybody thought it should be, but we also discovered what happens and that not everybody is prepared for this. At the end, it's a terminal. You have a TOS, a CTO, a technical manager, an operations manager, financial, a lot of departments, a lot of people involved in the management of a terminal. And everybody has then a huge amount of responsibilities that he has to handle. And then with a platform, you want to exchange that information to be able to get then a result. the first initial results that you want to have from any digital transformation is to be able to process automation, to workflow automation, to have some processes and things that are done easier, quicker, and people can take decisions instead of sitting in front of an Excel sheet working. That's a loss of time to have people with a high salary sitting making Excel sheets. The system should do it automatically. And then you have the ability to really get information where people can go out and take real-time decisions. This only works if obviously all your platforms, all your softwares, all your people, all your departments are ready to exchange information with your digital platform so you can collect and then spread out again. And if that really happens, your benefits will be there, and that is the ideal scenario. That's where we want to go. But, big but, it happens exactly the same. We start, and with all terminals we have done it, it happens exactly the same structure, same everything. Let's start data exchange because everybody wants to come to the point where it has all the benefits. But then some departments, Excel sheets. Some other departments, a nice software without any possibility to make data exchange. Some other softwares, too expensive to make any interconnection with other softwares. So then you have spent a lot of on digitalization. None of this is real, and then you find, and then you come to the point where you see that you have to rethink your philosophy and the way on how to digitalize your terminal, your port, and that's then most of the time really headache and expensive. And why does it happen? Yeah, human resistance is one of the biggest points that we have found always in terminals, that nobody or some people, we always have done it like that. No, I do not want to change my system. Lack of time to really dedicate to the whole thing. Very important, and that's not a criticism towards the people, it's a criticism towards our system. There's a huge amount of lack of knowledge, not lack of knowledge in specific points, but a lack of knowledge on what is the whole port business or a whole terminal. People that really understand everything and can at least help and guide. There's no company and not one person who can make a one-man show and do this by himself. We always have to have a lot of companies collaborating, helping, like Oscar also said, transparency, intercommunication, and helping each other. Like I said, I don't believe, and we think, and we have seen, there's no way there's a one-man show or one company show. There's a lot of companies that must help, collaborate, but very important, the port or the terminal first must take a very big decision. That is, what is my digital roadmap and what are the results, in what time do I want to have them? Because once you start digitalizing, it's not I start here and I finish in 6 months. No. Once you start, you have started. You know that you have started, but when you're going to finish, you will never finish, because each time you have to put something more, integrate more, expand it more. So please, once you start, you have started. If you want to start, start it, but you never will finish. Once you start, it's ongoing and will go on. Good intentions, good ideas. I want to be there. Yeah. But unawareness of what is able and possible to be dragged out of technology, but also what is what I really need. Sometimes you ask people, what do you want? And they say you 3 things. What are you not wanting or not willing to have? Oh. What do you then really want to reach in 10 years? Scratch. So before you really start digitalization or get into this, the most important is to make a long process of self-analysis, self-criticism, and really define what is your digital map and where you want to go, what you want to reach, and where you want to be in 2 years, 5 years, and what is really the value of what you want for yourself and for the terminal or for the port. Oh, sorry. Go back again. ROI, return of investment. and digital green approach. I will see who wants to ask me that, because that's a funny question in digitalization. Let's see who is brave enough to ask me. Yeah, and that's a little bit the way how I think that it shows clearly what is an analog or a terminal without digitalization, and what it should look like and be like once it's finished. It's quite graphic, but that's exactly the thing. Excel sheet, PowerPoints, words, CEOs asking every 3 days for a different report, different shape. At the end of the day, when you do everything properly and you digitalize properly, everything should be there, because problems we have enough. A support. Are you sure when the vessel will come, arrive, and when it will go? How many containers it bring, will drop or not? There's enough uncertainties in the business and the vessel business by itself. So at least the port and the terminal should be well organized to be able to accumulate all that points that are not uncertain. Just quick, there have been a lot of companies trying to make one big system, a big TOS with an RRP, and collect all the data and make everything in the big one. Yes, it's a good approach. If one day that software fails, the whole terminal, the whole port is down. We think, and what we have seen and shown already around, and I started already 12, 30 years ago, Al Jazeera's too, that there will be the need of a lot of different companies, a lot of different machines, softwares, and stakeholders able to be really connecting through one platform or through 2 or 3 platforms, doesn't matter. But to make sense, there's a lot of things that really must get into only one point that makes one important thing only, to have the proper data at the proper time, and that makes sense and gives you really value. And just to finish off, long-term concept, first plan, and be really sure what you want. Language, terminology, unification, unified parameters, and harmonization. There's a lot going on with that harmonization of language and of points. Everybody should participate and really should listen, because that makes it easier to us to even communicate, not only in our home language, but also in the way on how we really unify afterwards criteria for digitalization and results for digitalization. Try, fail, learn, earn, and apply. Digitalization, it's very clear. There is a lot of solutions. What works for one company, for one terminal, on one port, in some other geographic situation, it doesn't work. So you have to try. Everybody's different. You have to adapt to everybody. And next development steps, obviously, is integrating artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, multi-platforms, and be open as much as possible. Thank you very much. I think digitalization is a good thing, but before even starting with it, everybody really should be aware of what he wants, where he wants to go, and look for enough friends, buddies, companies around to get help. Like I said, we don't think that anybody is by himself alone to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Certainly some things to discuss there and some warnings too. Okay, this brings us nicely to our next speaker, Paolo Dalzi, who's Senior Vice President from Konecranes Port Services, who's going to talk to us about advanced port services and give us a sector comparison.
Good morning. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing. Today I'm going to talk about advanced services through a sector comparison. And that is in 12 minutes, right? So it is already an advanced service. But let's get into it. I want to start with the preamble. So when talking about advanced services, there are preconditions that needs to be considered. when customer refocus, meaning they decide to focus on their core business, when manufacturers, they decide to invest in digital platform, in IoT, and in service-led solutions, when the market, the end users, demand more efficiency, demand sustainability, then this is when sectors, economies, and businesses would advance. Having said that, let's look at some definitions. So when we speak about advanced services, we have to do that in the context of the so-called servitization. And they are part of another two categories of services, the so-called intermediate and the foundation services. Together, as said, they are part of the transition towards servitization. But what is servitization? There are many definitions. Let's go to a simple one, which says that servitization is an integrated bundling of products and services where manufacturers offer capability and outcomes instead of just products. In essence, servitization is when manufacturers strategically decide to compete through services. Then, what is advanced services? We can describe advanced services by saying that they are characterized by one or more of these offers, meaning performance-based contracts, meaning uptime guarantees, or complete maintenance outsourcing, or equipment as a service, ultimately. But let's look at how we can position the different type of services if we had to put them in a ladder. So the most complicated one, as we saw already, is the advanced, meaning that customers are asking or expecting manufacturers to do it for them, taking over a complete or a portion of the customer operation or processes. You can have it also on a lower ladder, customers who want OEM to do it with them. Again, complete or a portion of a service or of a process. But you can also have the case where customer wants to do it themselves, and they expect the manufacturers to help them to do so. And of course, there is a basic level of services that normally comes together with the equipment, and they are considered almost as part of the physical asset, meaning warranty, installation, and spare parts. But now let's get into the real life, some concrete examples. I'm not going to talk about luxury cars. This is a notorious case from Rolls-Royce jet engines. And we've tried to do here, we have tried to highlight what were the characteristics of the path that Rolls-Royce took towards advanced services. So why they did it? What was the environment that they had when they decided to do in the 90s? So customer priorities, I'm sure that you can find similar needs and priorities that we have in the port sector. So some of those are safety, equipment availability, efficient operation, fuel efficiency. What were the customer challenges? Well, they needed to be using efficiently the asset until to the point of selling it. And what were the risks? Of course, downtime, airplane grounded, and of unexpected cost of any type. One extremely important element for the advanced services to happen is co-creation with the apologies, is the co-creation with the customer. If there is no possibility or intention to do that together with the customer, advanced services will never happen. So if we had to position the Rolls-Royce offering in our ladder that we showed before, you see on the top scale, there is their notorious total care, which basically translated into the pay per flying hours. So the entire risk of operation, maintaining and operating the airplane jets was on the manufacturer. And of course, down the ladder, you see different shades of services from Rolls-Royce in that case, until you get to the basic level. But what was the essential element, or what allowed Rolls-Royce to get there? Well, inevitably, there was a big influence by the innovation. So all the innovative stuff that they brought to the business, to the aviation business in this case, they focused on making sure that they had the most advanced tools and systems when it comes to maintenance planning. They made sure that they had equipment monitoring, predictive services, remote support, asset management, and they had a portal where everything was available for their customers, transparency. And all of this allowed them to get to the notorious power by the hour. What impact did they make on the aviation industry? Quite big one. 92% of their customers said that the total care had helped them to improve their business. On top of that, they pushed the whole industry towards digitalization of the maintenance. Big investments. There is one sentence which was, I believe, quite visionary from a senior executive of Rolls-Royce. It contains important elements. As we heard before, there is no lack of data. There is plenty of them. The point is, how do we use this data? And especially, what is the essential component that the OEM can bring into this scenario? Well, using intelligent systems, meaning using data in a clever way, combined with the engineering knowledge they have. And this is the essential mix that the OEM should be focusing on. Let's look at another interesting case, rail industry. Let's talk about Alstom, one of the most popular train manufacturers. They had a very similar landscape. Customer priorities, safety, passengers, system availability. I think this resonates to most of you. What were the customer challenges? Well, there was an increasing demand. They needed to look at the customer experience and, of course, asset optimal management. Risks, service delay, downtime. Again, extremely important. Do it together with the customer. So develop these advanced services in conjunction with your customers. If you don't have that, it will never happen. Again, let's look at the ladder. Alstom did it in a similar way. They ended up being able to offer an integrated, full system set of services where they took over the entire risk, not only of the asset maintenance and operation, but also the infrastructure. So they went well beyond the asset itself. And again, down the ladders with all the other services. Once again, innovation was the most essential part of all of this, maintenance planning with tools and softwares, equipment monitoring, predictive services, remote support, fleet management. Those were the ingredients of the Alstom innovation that allow them, for instance, to get to one of these innovative systems. This is a huge scanner that allows them to scan the consumables and identify whether it's needed to change or not. So, as an example of innovation in this case. What impact Alstom had in the rail industry? Well, it's in there. One of their biggest customers said they've been helping to reduce maintenance cost by 30% and improve the infrastructure lifetime up to 50%. So quite relevant. Let's look at another case. We are now considering trucks and buses. Traton is a conglomerate of brands, different brands belonging to Volkswagen. They did it in a similar way. Again, customer priorities, cost of ownership, on-time deliveries, and challenges, fuel consumption, emissions, optimal asset management, and of course, the risk, unplanned availability, emission regulations, and they did it with their key accounts together. And this is how the Traton offering looks like. They also went up to the point where they were maintaining and operating fleets of trucks, and they invested quite a lot in this Rio option. So they developed a platform, a logistic platform, helping their customers not only monitoring the fleet, getting information, but also sharing those information and helping the logistic chains. So they went again beyond the pure asset, providing digital services on the supply chain, on the logistics side as well. Here are some of their key innovations again: equipment monitoring, remote support, fleet management, asset management, maintenance app, and information portal. And I would say that the most relevant, it is this Rio open source platform, helping customers to manage their fleet and also improving the logistic chain. Impact on the transport sector. Well, in this case, the transition to electric vehicle has been pushing manufacturers to go towards vehicle available as a service. Same as pay per the hour fly. Now, if we go back to our ladder, let's now go into the comparison part. Where do you think, or where would you position Rolls-Royce example? I think they went up to the top of the ladder with their advanced services. Followed very closely by Alstom, who went also quite far down this road. Followed by the trucks example I also showed you. And where do you now position the port equipment? Well, let's put it here. Meaning that there are OEMs opportunities to go up this ladder. And beside investing in innovation, as we saw, the important factor that has to be there, beside finding customers to co-create these services and do it together, beside embracing this servitization journey, I think that OEM, they should ask themselves a fundamental question, or three actually fundamental questions that I would like to leave you with. First one is, are they ready to commit more than what they do today to support their customers to manage their equipment? And if the ambition is to go even further, are they ready to take responsibility for part or entire operation of their customers? And if the ambition goes even further, are the OEMs ready to take accountability for their customer processes and operation? So that's the fundamental question that the OEMs needs to be able to answer themselves before they embark into this journey. But inevitably, whatever the OEMs would do, it's a customer choice. So the customers dictate the pace or the speed of the implementation of any advanced service. And now I'm going to ask a question to myself. Is Konecranes ready to embark in this journey? Yes, we are. Are you? Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. Okay, we have fallen a little behind, but we'll do our best to move along as quickly as we can. Our next speaker is well known to the industry, Marco Fema, who's the CEO of DSP, who's going to be talking to us about improving terminal efficiency with data-driven decisions. Marco, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So, just a few words to start. So, who DSP is, just to understand how we somehow were present to the digitalization process in the industry. Since it's 36 years, we are working in this sector, in this industry, with our experts, with different companies based worldwide. We started focusing on cost consulting work, and evolving and understanding the need of digitalization and the importance of data. We focus then on business intelligence and now on digital twin. But I think it's worth to spend a few words as an introduction. So we heard a lot about this digital twin, and there are lots of different variation and colors or flavors around digital twin. At the end, I think what we aim to have, it's a tool that allows us having in our hands an object that otherwise is too complex to understand and to analyze. So we need some different tool. So the same way that the NASA did with the physical twin of the Apollo mission, now we evolved and we have now digital models of the reality. And this again can be with different variation depending on the objective we have, what we want to achieve and to obtain from our digital twin. So it could deal about simulation, so knowing what's happening to this object in our digital world. We can monitoring actually what is happening in reality while it is working and operating, or at the very end, controlling the world through our digital twin. And that's our different variation where we can call it so the digital model, digital shadow, or the digital twin. I think we are not yet there to the control. We do not control reality. We still have a human being that analyzes the data and then takes decisions. But this is where we are aiming to go. Especially the environment of the port is very complex, and it's not only one object where we have to simulate. So we've seen many interesting presentations, and all of them were dealing about this complexity. We have vessels, we have key cranes, we have port community, we have the town all around us, and all these elements should be linked and put in relation each other. And this is, I think, the big challenge that we are facing. And in the port, we already have a lot of digital twin, let's call it like that, even if usually we didn't call it that way. So all the equipment monitoring system of the key cranes that are able to show us all the diagnostic of the key crane, helping in doing preventive maintenance or just showing an alert when it's the time, as Paseco was first showing. This is already a digital twin. And maybe you have different key cranes, one from one vendor, one from the other, and you have already two digital twins in your terminal. So I think the challenge for the future is start integrating all these different solutions that are already available. We are not saying we have to replace everything. It's a matter of let them talk and follow the new industry direction, which is more and more in the IoT side. So where it's recent initiative from some vendor going ahead in plans with autonomous ships, autonomous trucks, and all this require a lot of data exchange to let this equipment move without any driver. And other initiative recently, Hapag-Lloyd started with announcing that all the containers will be equipped with an IoT device, identifying the containers. All these elements are coming, are a reality. And so the challenge for this new, to manage a new port or terminal, it's really to let all this talk together. And one of the challenge is about standards, of course, and here we as DSP and many other vendors, we are embracing the TIC 4.0 initiative to find common standards to facilitate the communication among different systems. And so I encourage you to follow the dedicated session on this that we will have here at the TOC. But it is true, this is a challenge. So what we did on our side was to develop our digital twin platform. We call it Gemini. And what we understood of this complexity of having different objectives, it is to provide a solution that is modular at the end. So something that can help in giving predictive analysis, so forecasting, analysis of data, then emulation, in case you want how your terminal is currently behaving, so connecting to the TOS and all the different real-time system. Then the simulation that still stays relevant and very important if you want to introduce a new equipment or a new scenario, especially now that we have a lot of migration from manned operation to automated operation, and they have to coexist for a certain period. And of course, it's even important with 3D monitoring, like an augmented reality, where we can see what is happening at the terminal, not only like a camera, but even having data and being able to filter and analyze the data. Of course, we have to have concrete objective. In our view, what it's important is that this, at the end, for the benefit of the whole community, the introduction of the digitalization brings an increase of your profit. That helps the terminal to take decision, but based not only on experience or on certain flavors, but on data. And of course, whatever we are building and developing should even reflect with some more sustainability. And when you do efficiency, normally you even have a return on this as well for the environment. So we started some time ago a case study with CSP Valencia. It was presented at the TOC, at the virtual TOC, at the TOC Connect some time ago. And because, of course, as we said, it's important. I heard, I think, from your presentation that you need to talk to a user, to someone that is using the system, and you cannot only figure out yourself what could be the situation. So at the end, what we arrived at the end, it's a dashboard that is showing you not only what is happening now, but it's helping to understand what will happen tomorrow. And so the target was having a window of 1 or 2 shifts ahead to start with, and being able to figure out what will be the workload on each key crane, what could be the productivity, but in the future, and not now. Of course, any BI system is capable to provide this, but I think what is innovative is seeing what will happen tomorrow. So talking about the IoT, how we get there, it's knowing the information. So we know where the vessels are. It is true that it's still unreliable, but more and more they are equipped with information on board. We know those data. We will soon learn where the containers are. We know where the trucks are on the way. So all this information can actually be available. I'm not saying we have to collect all of them, but we will get there. It is possible. So starting from this information, this forecasting or long-term schedule or acquiring the data from the TOS in real time, we can build a berth planning and knowing what is going to happen, more and more reliable, of course. And then thanks to the observation and some simulation model that at the end it's analyzing statistics and matching with actual data in our hands, let's say we can have an idea on how containers will enter to the port. And the magnitude, of course, depends on this Gaussian curve that more or less describes most of the cases. Let's say when you start opening, accepting container for the vessel, the magnitude depends, of course, on the number of units expected. So if we then vessel by vessel define this entry of the container, we can get a forecast of the moves that are expected on that shift to enter at the gate. In the same way, we can build models on imports, again, based on history, based on the actual regulation of the gate entry, observing typical dwell time if there is any relation. And there are even separate packages on the market available doing this AI observation. So I think the value here is putting all together this information. So we can build this expected move at the gate and the rail. Having a good understanding on what could be the workload on each work shift, of course, taking in account of all the hours and seasons. So at the end, we arrived to this what-if scenario. So we have a clear, we hope a clear, but because it's very important that the user are able to use the tool, let's say, where we can build what-if scenario. So not only having a prediction of what will happen in case we go ahead as we are now, but if we apply a different planning strategy, for example, changing the crane split, assigning different number of key cranes, or a different number of trucks or RTGs. That is as well important and where we see really the value. Because if we have a prediction, let's say, if there is some idle time or there are not enough equipment deployed on a certain shift, so there is still time to do an action, so change the way the resources are allocated at the terminal. So the case study results at the end is what we have observed on our system. Of course, it's not yet an implementation at the terminal and want to hide, but what we learned is that the model as it is built for the next 12 hours has an accuracy of 90%, and we think we can arrive to 95 or up to 97 over the next 6 hours. So this means using the actual data of the TOS can make your model very accurate. Then it's again our own observation looking at observed peaks or idle times, so seeing where congestion can happen or where equipment is standing waiting for moves. Take an example of RTGs or whatever, or under the key crane. So there are margin of improvement, and usually are those feeling and sensation that a good and expert shift manager can have. But here we have some data showing in advance that this is going to happen, and maybe some corrective action can be taken. There are more opportunities, and this applies, of course, to any digitalization implementation. Having this idea of the workload at the gate and knowing how much the equipment in the yard will be busy, we can even forecast the waiting time for the trucks, and for example make this information available to the truck driver, so they know if I arrive at the terminal in 4 hours, how long will I have to wait? So maybe you can change your strategy and have your lunch break before, I don't know. But it even helps more concretely in defining what is a good appointment strategy, for example, to be implemented. And this is for sure a good result for the port community, and this is where we see even this reduction of the CO2 footprint if we are able to optimize the way trucks arrive at the terminal, or simply reducing the number of internal tractors or RTG working at the terminal. And more, so having an idea of what the future will bring, of course, can help in defining better yard strategies and implementing new solution and optimizing at the end the operation, which was the aim of the terminal and of our customers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. Unfortunately, we got off to a late start, and we've got the program slightly behind schedule, and we do need to make way for the next session, apparently. So we're not going to be able to have a Q&A, which is unfortunate because the team had put together quite a lot of effort into thinking about how we would go about trying to discuss across the different perspectives this very big subject. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that, but we hopefully have time, if you have some questions, to approach the speakers outside of the forum for further discussions. But if you could put your hand again for another round of applause, please, for everyone this morning. It was a great start, and we'll move straight on to the next session.